Hello and welcome to another edition of Career Magic. My name is Nitin Kulkarni and today I'm going to talk about something that we do on a daily basis. Something that is really important for us for our influence and impact, and that is persuasion. The other day I was watching the show on YouTube called Shark Tank. It's a show where where startup founders come in and pitch their business ideas to a panel, to a really tough panel, a panel that can, be really hard to pitch to. These are experienced business people, startup people themselves who have established and run very successful businesses. So these founders come and pitch their ideas, and their goal is to get these people to validate their idea and to fund them if possible. So some of them are not very successful at doing it, at engaging in this sort of persuasion, but some of them are and even get some funding from these sharks. That's persuasion. You see persuasion in action in advertising. You are constantly bombarded by ads on TV and in print and on Google ads, and these ads are trying to get you to remember a brand, buy a product, or like something or recommend something to others. So that's another. You must have seen courtroom drama movies. You must have heard of lawyers engaging in arguments in the courts of law, famous lawsuits. What do lawyers do? Lawyers are engaged in persuasion in order to influence the jury, influence the judge to give a decision that is favorable for their client. So you see persuasion. You also see politicians engage in persuasion to get people to vote for them, to get people to like them, and they are constantly doing this so that in the next election they are successful in getting elected. But persuasion is not restricted to these high impact situations only. Persuasion happens in our daily lives. We are persuading our children to do something or not do something. My wife is often persuading me to watch a movie with her. I am not very fond of watching movies. My wife is. She loves movies. So she's often persuading me to watch a movie with her. Now, in the workplace, there is persuasion happening all the time. We have to pitch our ideas, we have to get them accepted, we have to get people to give us sponsorship for our ideas, to support them, and in other situations too. The other day I was conducting a workshop with some young professionals from a bank. These are young managers who lead people, and one of them was telling me that he is in the process of persuading his team to return to the office. So due to the COVID pandemic, work from home had become commonplace, and now that the pandemic is sort of waning and people are ready to move back into office, some people really don't want to do that because they find working from home quite convenient, quite comfortable, and they don't want to come back to office. So it requires persuasion to get them to at least come back to the office for a few days a week. So persuasion. And as we assume larger responsibilities in the workplace, our ability to persuade often determines our impact, our success, our growth, and our ability to really fulfill our potential in terms of having very successful careers. So how do we get better at it? We know, we can see around us and we can see that some people do it better than others. Some people don't do it very well. So what is it that they do? How do they do persuasion? And what is it? How do we think about it and get better at it, and maybe add a few more tools to our repertoire? So one useful way to think about it is Aristotle's rhetorical triangle. And I came across this tool some time ago. And Aristotle was a Greek philosopher who lived in the 4th century BC. So what I'm talking about is 2600 years old, very old, but it's still relevant today. And Aristotle was a philosopher, wrote about this rhetorical triangle, the methods of arguing or influencing that can commonly be used. And he classified them in 3 categories: ethos, logos, and pathos. Now, if we think about it like this, I think what it does is it raises our awareness to these different methods, and then we can think about what we are doing and what we could be doing differently very consciously, and therefore getting better at it. So let me talk about these 3 very briefly. Ethos is about persuading using our credibility. Ethos is about credibility. And here we are talking about the credibility of knowledge, the credibility of expertise. Now, you must have seen ads on TV where a dentist in a white coat is talking about a brand of toothpaste or toothbrush, and their name flashes on the screen, and we look at it and we say, okay, here's a dentist who, if a dentist is putting their credibility on the line and recommending this, there's a good chance that this is a good one. I'm willing to give it a shot. You might see a famous athlete. So you might see Michael Jordan playing basketball wearing the shoes of a particular brand. And we all know Michael Jordan, and we are all in awe of him, probably the greatest basketball player ever. And we are thinking, if Michael Jordan is okay to wear those and appear in an ad and play basketball on the court, we should be okay to give it a shot too. I'm willing to give it a shot. Now that is ethos. In practice, in the workplace, we can use this when our credibility is already established. And it is without question, where the audience that we are appealing to knows that and is willing to buy off on it. So I see frequently, I work with a lot of professionals in the IT industry, software development industry. They use different tools and technologies. Some of them are really known experts within their companies on those. Some of them are experts on processes, for example, the agile and scrum method of software development. And when they talk about their area of expertise, you're willing to think, yeah, you know what, he or she is really good at this, they have some expertise and experience, I'm willing to buy what they are telling me and willing to try their ideas. So give it a shot. This is something that is used in the workplace often by people who have the credibility. The second category of persuasion, the second part of Aristotle's rhetorical triangle, is called logos, and as the name suggests, it's about logic. Logos is about laying out a logical argument that appeals to the head, that makes sense rationally. And you have to be a little careful with this, because you want to think this through. And when you are applying logos, build a set of arguments that sets up your pitch, your recommendation very well, and also takes into account the anticipated objections or concerns of your audience. Now, I use this a lot when I'm pitching my education product. So I have an ed tech firm. When I'm pitching in a webinar, or when I'm pitching in a physical demo, I tell them about my logical arguments why. So I lay out the problem and say, okay, these are the common problems, and I usually talk about the problems that are relevant to the audience, and then I present my product as a solution to those problems with some logical arguments, with a set of arguments. You can score better in exams doing this. You won't have to study as much as you do today, because this is a very efficient method. You will be engaged, you won't get bored doing self-study using my method. And I know that cost is a consideration in their heads. So I also lay out a cost argument by telling them that this is one of the least expensive methods, least expensive platforms they can invest in for themselves. So I lay out an argument like that. This is a very common method, probably one of the most common methods used in the corporate world. But what you need to do is think it through and lay out a set of arguments and make sure those arguments are credible by providing evidence in favor of those arguments. There's another, I'll do another video where I'll talk about how this sort of a pyramid is built and why it's important to build a pyramid and how to communicate that, but that's a separate topic. This is about the logos method of presenting your argument in order to persuade. The third method is called pathos, and pathos is about emotion. So like logos appeals to the head, pathos appeals to the heart. You try and touch people's emotions using an emotional appeal can be extremely powerful, because as human beings, emotions are more basic to our design than rationality. The part of our brain that handles emotions, the limbic system, is millions of years older than the part that handles rationality, which is the neocortex. Therefore, the limbic system is much better developed, comes into play very quickly, and influences decision making and actions at a very basic level. So appealing to emotions is a very powerful way to persuade, and advertisers know it. You will see advertisements that will appeal to your emotion. A soap advertiser, I have not seen them talk about logic, that hey, my soap removes dirt at a faster rate than the soap of the other brand, therefore buy it. They don't provide logical arguments like that. They'll show you a picture of a model with the soap, a good looking model, and they want you to believe that if you use that soap, they won't say it, they'll appeal to your emotions, and the underlying message is, if you use this soap, you will look like that, your skin will look like that, and so you might be influenced into giving it a shot. So the appeal to emotions, I saw an ad of a company called HDFC Life. It's a life insurance firm, and I'll never forget that the name of that brand, because this ad really touched my emotions. It's an ad about a blind chess player. You can watch it on YouTube. I'll try and give you the link in the description below. It's a 3-minute ad. There's also a shorter version, but this really touched my heart. They never talk about life insurance in that ad. They just show this, but I know it's about life insurance, and it's from HDFC Life. It's a beautiful ad that touches your heart, and so watch it. Advertisers use it really well, and they know how powerful this is. So this is a predominant method used by advertisers. It's a method used quite successfully by politicians. They know how to appeal to your emotions in order to get to persuade you to go with them, to follow the path. The I Have a Dream speech of Martin Luther King, again, it's available on YouTube. Watch it. He's talking in a very inspiring fashion to this large audience about the world that he wants you to lead. He wants you to follow him into the world where they'll be treated as equals, this beautiful world. And you get influenced at an emotional level to follow what he's saying, to support him, and to take actions in order to move that agenda forward. Very powerful way of influencing, but it is not used as much in the corporate world, unfortunately. When can it be used and how can it be very powerful? It can be very powerful in times of change, when you want people to do something that they are a little bit apprehensive about, a little bit afraid about, a little uneasy or uncomfortable about. When there are these negative emotions, you can convert them into positive emotions by painting a picture of the future and by making it exciting and perhaps inspiring for them to try it out. Obviously, how you do it is influenced by your own credibility, by your own ability to communicate, by your ability to tell stories and lead them down that path. So it's not an easy method to use. It comes with practice, but it is something you can work on. I'm going to do another video on storytelling where I'll tell you how to get good at this. But watch some examples around you and see how this method is used. If you get good at this, you can become a very powerful persuader. In practice, good persuaders use these methods together. You don't box a method and say, okay, I'm going to persuade these people and I'm only going to use logos. No, you can use a combination of logos and pathos. You can use a combination of ethos and logos. But there is always a predominant method that comes into play, and you can add a little bit of the other to make it more powerful. So what I'd like you to do is become aware of these methods. When you're watching advertisements, when you're watching political leaders on TV, when you're watching others in the corporate world around you doing influencing, what do you see? What are they doing? Is it effective? Could they use something else? And then you can start deploying these methods in your situations of persuasion and see how they work out and learn in the process. You only learn by doing, you don't learn by listening to me or watching these ads and things on TV. You've got to go out and give this a shot, particularly the things that you don't typically do. We all have our default method. So try, particularly pathos. See how you can try it, where you can try it, and how you can get good at it, and become a wonderful persuader. So hopefully that helps you make sense of the styles of persuasion, and you can start using them in the workplace. If you like what you heard, if you think you can give it a shot, or if you have tried it and it works for you, do leave me a comment in the comment section down below. Like my video, and recommend it to others if you think others can benefit from it, and of course please do subscribe to my channel. Then you will get notifications about what else I put out there. So thank you very much for listening and watching. All the very best to you, and I'll see you again on the next edition of Career Magic.